You know, I learned a lot while making the Rogue Tribal episode of this series. Like when you're a small channel, your first upload after a 6-month hiatus is not going to do numbers. Also, that not everyone is going to be as forgiving as your friends when it comes to getting too drunk at a D&D session 5 years ago.
And he's forgiven me and we've moved past it. Why can't you?
Because you never apologized to me.
And lastly is that stealing is pretty cool.
I love stealing things.
Why am I spending so much time coming up with these janky tribal builds when I can just steal one? So this episode is a special episode of How Does Tribal in which I highlight a deck that I flat out stole from my friend Hayden. As I continue making this series, I'm trying my best not to repeat any color identities too early. There's 6 monocolors, 10 dual colors, 10 tricolors, 5 4-colors, and Woobird, so I should be able to go through most of them before I start repeating. On top of that, I'm really trying to minimize the same colors in back-to-back episodes. For example, I went from Blue Humans to Jund Birds to Orzhov Elementals and most recently Mono Red Rogues. Yeah, I used black in back-to-back episodes with birds and elementals, but it could have been a lot worse. Imagine if I used black in all of those episodes.
This is a deck with black.
John Screen.
This is the 7th week in a row you've shown
A deck with black.
in class.
I've been wanting to knock off the monocolors so we can move on to the more varied color combos, and thankfully it's been a while since we've had green in the color identity, so I thought mono green should be next. However, I just couldn't find the right tribe. I was struggling, and after a while I was ready to move on to another color combo and try again later. But then I remembered my friend Hayden has a mono green spirits deck. So I took it. Yoink! And thanks to making YouTube videos for a while now, I'm basically an expert on changing someone's intellectual property just enough for it to be considered transformative to avoid copyright.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
So I changed one card and now it's a completely different deck. Spirits come in all 5 colors, but they're mainly a white, blue, or black thing. Green spirits exist, they're just a little rare. But there's one plane in which they're pretty common. Thanks to Kamigawa, we've got plenty of options to work with. Seriously, I looked. Out of the 88 mono green spirits, 50 of them are from a Kamigawa set.
Konnichiwa senpai, please notice me. I watch Asian cartoons. I'm a weeaboo.
On top of providing a large amount of weeb green spirits, Kamigawa introduced the arcane mechanic for instants and sorceries. If you have no idea what the arcane subtype is, it's that other word that appears on Kodama's Reach that you were told to ignore when you were learning the game. Originally, it was made to work with the splice mechanic, but considering they didn't make any new arcane spells in Neon Dynasty, that shit's almost certainly never coming back. Even so, we want to run some of these arcane spells because there are quite a few green spirits that actually care about them. So yeah, we've got our green spirit tribal theme and our arcane theme. That should be enough to get us going, right? Wrong. We've actually got 5 themes to build around.
But John Screen, wouldn't building with 5 themes make it harder for you to consistently play the deck?
We'll let him in here. Get out of here, you! Alright, everybody keep an eye out. Don't let any more Reddit users in here. Anyways, as I was saying, we've got 5 themes because we have 5 commanders.
There's too many of them.
Yeah, you heard me right. This deck has 5 commanders. Now, they can't all be in the command zone at the same time, but we can still play them all in the same deck.
Okay, fine, but I'm gonna complain the whole time.
See, I went through this weird phase a couple years back where I retrofitted a couple of my decks to work with alternating commanders. My Omnath Elementals deck can be swapped out for Maelstrom Wanderer to lean more heavily into a Cascade theme. Whichever one I don't play just goes back into the 99. In an older video, I mentioned that I have a mono-white Dragon Tribal / Venture into the Dungeon deck with Nadar and Icing Death, and my Pirate Tribal deck has 3 alternating commanders between the 2 Admiral Brass cards and Edward Kenway. I guess I could have 4 if I included Don Andreas the Renegade, but if I wanted to play Theft, I'd just play my Dragon Lord Somgar deck. Speaking of Theft, back to that deck list I stole, we're running an ambitious 5 alternating commanders. Some of you have probably figured out who they are by now, but for those still struggling, here's a hint. Did you ever hear this song in kindergarten?
North, south, east or west, which direction do you like the best?
Our commanders are going to be all 5 of the Kodama legends. And just in case you think I stole this deck from a random internet stranger and not a close personal friend, I have receipts. The link to his original deck list is in the description, and it shows that he's been working on this deck for over 4 years now. That's before the East and West trees were even out. So there, I'm not some talentless hack that steals from the internet, just my friends.
Good, that's one less loose end.
Each Kodama legend has its own style we can build around. You can get a little varied with them, but for the most part they all have their own preferred playstyle. The North tree is a commander that tries to win through commander damage. The South tree is a go wide commander that rewards you for playing spirits and those arcane spells I mentioned earlier. The center tree allows you to recur your spirits thanks to Soul Shift, the west tree focuses on modified creatures and ramping, and the east tree does its best William Wallace impression by letting you play an additional permanent each turn for free.
Red is the perfect one, black is the brooding bad boy, green is the clown, and yellow, well, she's the girl. So what are you supposed to be?
I'm Scottish!
So let's go over how we're going to jam these 5 themes into the same deck. For the north tree, we've got anthems. The spirit tribal theme of the south tree and the center tree are easy enough, almost all the creatures in the deck are spirits. And the arcane theme of the south tree is handled by these instants and sorceries. And the modified theme of the west tree is handled by these that distribute +1/+1 counters. And the east tree is the strongest out of all of them.
Okay, what the hell am I sensing? Is that me? Is that me stronger than me? Oh, kill me!
As long as you have permanents with different mana values in the deck, the ability's going to trigger. And you can always choose a land if you don't have anything else you can cheat in. The beauty of this build is you can choose as many Kodamas as you want, you're not beholden to using all 5. Maybe you just want to focus on the north and the west trees, so you run more anthems, +1/+1 counter support, equipments, and auras. Or you're just looking for a general value spirits deck where you only play the south, east, and center trees. Maybe you want to focus on ramping with the east and west trees, which is kind of like putting a hat on a hat since we're in mono green, but if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to stop you, live the dream. Or you can be like my friend Hayden and play all 5 depending on which strikes your fancy at the time. Or just have your opponents pick one. Or just randomly draw one. Perhaps you can't justify how expensive the west tree has gotten, so you just play the other 4. I may have stolen the deck list, but charging that much for cardboard is straight up robbery at that point.
$25. Wow. And we're the robbers.
We know you're in there, John Screen. Give up the deck list and come out with your hands up.
Well, looks like I've been made. Gotta make a break for it. Do me a favor, hang on to this deck list until things cool off. Wish me luck. I'll see you all in the next episode of How Does Tribal.
You'll never take me alive, pigs! Look out, he's got a Nadu! That's right, and I'm not afraid to use it. So everybody just back off because this thing hasn't been banned in